It begins with Hyun Seok explaining how his life flipped. 20 years ago, he was summoned to save a dying world. In this realm, he finally confronts the ultimate boss monster, alongside 3 of his supposed comrades. Supported by a saintess mage and knight, the beast actually praises Seok for surviving such a brutal clash. Ever the arrogant hero, Seok smirks back, mocking the monster for looking like a total mess himself. The creature snaps, losing his cool instantly. He lunges forward, unleashing a devastating ground-shaking slash. Metal shrieks as Seok's spear catches the blow. From the rear, the mage desperately attempts to provide magical cover. Submit or be shredded, the beast bellows. He brags that this entire kingdom was carved by his own talons. They trade blows like titans, each strike threatening to level the entire battlefield in a shower of sparks. But Seok is done playing games. Seeking the end, he ignites his spear with a terrifying forbidden power. The paradox flame erupts, his spear pierces the boss, triggering a blinding cataclysmic explosion. The shockwave blasts the monster through solid boulders. They collide again, fighting at a level that dwarfs everyone else. Seok connects with a heavy strike, but the beast just laughs, claiming the hit was nothing but a mosquito bite. It was too soft, he claims, but Seok is about to humble him and cut through that massive ego. His spear blazes with black fire. One swift arc carves through flesh, and the monster's arrogance turns to terror. He crashes into the dirt as the flames consume him. Even in defeat, the beast is impressed by Seok's strength. He never imagined a mortal could actually fell him. But Seok has a chilling revelation for the dying creature. "I'm not from this garbage world," he spits. The boss scoffs, dismissing his words as the ramblings of a madman. The monster remains cocky, certain his soul will return to the earth and rise again one day. Then he feels his essence fading. Seok leans in, asking if the reality of his situation is finally sinking in. He explains the secret of the black fire. It is his unique authority, which he calls the paradox flame. Unlike regular fire that needs air, this supernatural blaze feeds on abstract concepts themselves. There is no resurrection. This flame is erasing the very concept of his existence from reality forever. Desperate, the monster tries a final jab. He sneers that Seok will never be remembered as a true hero. He reveals the dark truth: Seok's friends are just waiting for him to drop dead in this fight. Seok's response: he already knows. The saintess panics, begging him not to believe the lies of a demon. Seok turns his gaze on her first. She claimed to love him, but secretly she loathed him as a filthy outsider. Every touch and every sweet word was a trap designed to make him hesitate during their eventual betrayal. The color drains from her face. She can't believe he saw through her entire facade this whole time. He doesn't stop there. He knows the mage and knight are just as rotten, ready to kill him. The knight already has a royal bounty, waiting a reward from an emperor terrified of Seok's godlike power. The mage is no better, a sick scientist who hates Seok for interfering with his human experiments. Seok drops the bombshell he's known about their betrayal for 5 whole years. The monster is absolutely floored. Why not just rule them all, the boss asks. But Seok doesn't care about power or thrones. He just wants to go home. Back in 2005, he was just a regular office worker. That was before a goddess snatched him. She claimed he was the only one who could save this realm. But upon arrival, he realized this world was a literal nightmare. He begged to go back immediately. The goddess refused. The only way home was to butcher every monster and save this pathetic land. Trapped, he spent 2 decades training, surviving a world that was rotten to its very core. He recalls saving a dying child only for the village soldiers to block his path. They let the boy rot. This world had no soul. They abandoned the weak and let the wounded perish without a second thought. Their medical knowledge was barbaric. They would saw off a soldier's leg for a simple infection. Even after getting the boy to safety, Seok hit a new wall: the absolute insanity of the village's religious zealots, abandoning them to rot. To make matters worse, their primitive medical skills and disgusting hygiene turned every scratch into a nightmare. They actually butchered a soldier's leg over a minor infection. Seok finally dragged the child into the village, but the struggle wasn't over. He faced a new threat: the village's unhinged religious fanatics and their shadowy, power-hungry cult leaders. Convinced the boy survived only through demonic possession, they demanded a brutal exorcism by fire. Treating holy rites like a casual chore, these fanatics incinerated living souls as if they were mere kindling. Seok stood paralyzed, his mind reeling from the impossible reality of finally rediscovering his own identity. In a lawless realm where life held zero value, Seok defied the odds, surviving 20 grueling years of hell. The final beast has fallen, and the world is saved. Seok exhales a heavy sigh, praying this nightmare is over. But the knight draws his blade chillingly, admitting that Seok is far too dangerous to be left alive. Facing his betrayer, Seok spits out his pure loathing for this twisted world, a sentiment the knight clearly shares. The knight trembles, knowing he's no match for him. They had birthed a monster just to slay another. Seeking an exit, Seok bellows toward the heavens, demanding the goddess fulfill the blood-sworn vow she made him. He held up his end by saving this wretched world. Suddenly, the heavens split as the goddess descends. She praises his iron will, but Seok cuts her off, uninterested in empty glory. He wants his reward. Send me back to Earth. The goddess pauses, questioning why he'd ever want to leave his godhood behind. Despite wielding power that rivals her own, she warns him that crossing back means losing every ounce of his divinity. His heroic status will vanish. Seok scoffs, telling her to quit the act since he knows she's glad he's leaving. She smirks, admitting the world is better off without a monster. But then she drops a cryptic warning. She asks if he'll truly have no regrets, but Seok's resolve is absolute. He only wants his home back. He's done with this literal hellscape. Seeing his unwavering will, the goddess finally grants his ultimate wish. Blinding gold light erupts as she reveals a dark truth: his original human body has long since rotted away. Since he's technically dead, she must transplant his soul into a new vessel. Seok's heart nearly stops in shock. Who will I become? He demands. The goddess remains vague, refusing to disclose the specifics of his new life. She warns him the host is destined for a miserable death, though she bets his survival instincts will prevail. Surviving is his specialty after all. Seok doesn't flinch. Anything is better than this trash-tier fantasy world. Earth will be a breeze compared to this nightmare. Suddenly, Seok's eyes snap open in an unfamiliar body. It's now the year 2025. He's successfully possessed the body of an ordinary guy named Chan Sok. He sits up basking in the glorious realization that those backstabbing traitors are finally out of his life. Catching his reflection in a nearby mirror, he approaches to inspect the face of the man he now inhabits. Reality hits him like a truck. He's really home. He stares in awe at something as simple as clean running water. No more scouring for resources in a wasteland. Even fire is a click away. No frantic wood chopping required. Seok is practically vibrating with joy when he spots a box of fried chicken sitting on the table. He dives in instantly, and the explosion of flavor on his tongue sends his brain into pure overdrive. Tears stream down his face as he finally tastes real food after 2 decades of surviving on scraps. Lost in his meal, he misses the ominous crimson glow beginning to pulse in the middle of the street. It's currently 2025, meaning time moved at the exact same pace in both worlds all along. But who cares? No matter how tough modern life gets, it could never compare to that medieval hellhole. To Seok, Earth is a literal paradise compared to the blood-soaked nightmare he just escaped from. Bellyful, he hits the shower, marveling at the sheer luxury of hot water and modern technology. Cooling off under the air conditioning, he gazes out the window, soaking in the peaceful city he's missed so dearly. While planning his future, a grotesque, hideous monster suddenly slams against the glass, glaring right at him. Seok recoils in horror, heart pounding, as an emergency broadcast suddenly blares through the entire neighborhood. Attention! A corrosion rift has manifested inside the complex. Seok freezes his mind, racing to process the chaos. What the hell is a rift? The announcer screams for everyone to drop everything and flee immediately. They need to reach the underground shelter now. Seok stands paralyzed until he realizes the window is crawling. A swarm of beasts is clawing to get inside. Reality hits when the glass shatters into a million pieces. As the predators breach his home, Seok bolts his mind, screaming, "Why are these things even on Earth?" With the pack on his heels, his survival instincts kick in. He dives out a window, clinging to the ledge, as the monsters roar past before climbing back inside. Relief washes over Seok as the monsters finally vanish. But then, a lone figure catches his eye, a kid in the distance. He sprints toward the young boy, demanding to know why on earth he's wandering this death trap alone. Seok urges a retreat to the shelter, but the brat is weirdly obsessed with the monster he spotted earlier. Driven by a reckless urge to hunt, the kid actually asks Seok to join his suicide mission. Seok's jaw drops in pure disbelief. Has this kid forgotten the world's been a literal hellscape for 13 years? With the kid stubbornly refusing safety, Seok is forced to play babysitter and follow him into the chaos. The boy starts geeking out about corrosion rifts, the nightmare portals spawning those bloodthirsty beasts. Their origin is a total mystery. As Seok listens, flashbacks of his brutal life in the other world resurface. He fought to come home only to find Earth just as broken. Meanwhile, the kid thinks Seok is a total noob. "How do you not know this?" the boy asks. Seok panics, claiming he lived in America, a huge mistake. Travel between the US and Korea is impossible now. The kid stares at Seok like he's grown a second head. Desperate to dodge the heat, Seok pivots the convo to that hunter the boy was fangirling over. Her name is Lee Si-yun, a powerhouse from the Janabi Guild and ranked 10th globally. A literal legend. Armed with a massive greatsword, she's currently on the front lines in Cheerwon, crushing a massive rift. The kid's endless rambling is actually a blessing. Seok finally catches his breath, glad the spotlight's off him. He successfully deflected the questions, but a chilling realization begins to sink into his mind. Ordinary humans are actually squaring off against monsters here, echoing the nightmare world he just escaped. The boy's still yapping when Seok suddenly clamps a hand over his mouth. Silence. Something's close. Peeking past the rubble, they spot 5 beasts. But Seok's instincts scream that a 6th is lurking in the shadows. 6 against 2. Seok is just glad his new vessel actually has some decent physical strength to work with. Fighting at a disadvantage is his specialty. Taking these freaks down, it should be a total walk in the park. But he's got baggage. He looks back only to find the brave kid shaking like a leaf. So much for that big talk. Facing a real monster, the kid's determination has completely evaporated. Unarmed and stuck, Sok hesitates until he feels it. The familiar buzzing hum of mana in the air. It's the exact same energy. With a surge of confidence, Sok prepares to launch a full-on assault. He steps into the open and unleashes the Paradox Flame. Thank the heavens, his signature skill crossed over. It was etched into his very soul in the other world. The power is dimmed, but the core flame remains. Dimmed or not, it's lethal. The monster's head erupts in an agonizing inferno, ending it instantly. The boy's eyes go wide with awe. That was insane, he shouts immediately, crowning Sok his new master. Apparently his technique is labeled a unique skill. Sok realizes rare arts are the ultimate flex on Earth. As the beast smolders, the reckless kid decides he needs to confirm the kill up close. He charges toward the active fire, ignoring Sok's desperate warnings to stay far away from the flames. The fire is still lethal. Just before the kid gets cooked, Sok lunges in with superhuman speed to save him. He shields the boy, taking the burn himself. Stop living in a fantasy world, kid. This isn't a movie. Real life has consequences. Seok snatches the boy's staff, ready to turn it into a weapon of mass destruction. He wields that simple staff like a legendary blade. The kid watches, completely mesmerized by Seok's god-tier skills. Are you like a secret hunter? The boy gasps. Seok, on the other hand, is far from thrilled. This fresh start is turning into a nightmare. He's right back to the violent life he tried to leave behind. They finally reach the shelter, and Seok officially dubs the kid his personal annoying brat. Inside, a frantic woman screams Yun Song and rushes toward them. Finally, the brat has a name. She smothers her son in hugs tearfully, thanking Seok for delivering him back safe and sound. She knows the journey was hell. But as they embrace, Seok's eyes land on her flashing high-end jewelry. They're filthy rich. Suddenly, Yun Song's attitude makes perfect sense. Then boom, the shelter wall explodes. Total pandemonium ensues. The crowd screams as the main defense wall is demolished like thin paper. Everyone bolts for their lives. Yun Song begs Seok to run, but Seok stands his ground, pure rage boiling over. Seok can't believe his luck. All he craved was a quiet life, but destiny keeps trolling him. Fury simmers within as he questions if peace is too much to ask, glaring at his scorched palm. Addressing the kid as brat, like always, Seok demands to know why Siwon is chasing this hunter life. With his family's massive wealth, Seok knows this rich kid could have just lived comfortably in some safe bunker. He didn't need to fight, but then Siwon drops the heavy truth about his father's grisly end. A deadly corrosion rift tore open right inside the underground sanctuary, where they were supposed to be safe. They felt invincible underground, until that nightmare day when Siwon learned a brutal life-altering lesson. Nowhere on Earth is truly secure. Siwon vows that, although he's weak now, he'll become the ultimate hunter. He's determined to wipe every rift off the map, and save what's left of humanity. Siwon admits it sounds like a pipe dream, but Seok shuts him down, insisting that he actually will rise as a legendary hunter. Yet he delivers a crushing blow. Siwon won't be the world's savior. Panic consumes Siwon's mother as she drags him away, but the boy's feet are frozen in hesitation. Seok remains unfazed before the beast. Suddenly, a blinding radiance erupts behind them, forcing them to spin around. Their jaws drop. Seok has already incinerated the monstrosity using his devastating Paradox Flame. Seok tells him he can't save the world because by then, Seok will have already finished the job. Saving the entire planet is a heavy burden reserved for someone who's actually pulled it off before. Once the dust settled and his heroic promise was made, Seok did the unthinkable and went into retirement. Despite his epic words, he's now just a shut-in grinding video games and inhaling greasy fast food. That heroic fire fizzled out fast. With a full pantry and no drive, the couch was his kingdom. Lost in his digital worlds, Seok figures other hunters can handle the mess, while he stays off-grid. While others bleed to save humanity, Seok's biggest battle is deciding which takeout app to open next. Reality checks him hard when he realizes his severance pay from the logistics firm has officially hit zero. The body's previous owner was laid off after a rift-induced bankruptcy nuked his old logistics company. The crushing weight of poverty sinks in. If he wants to eat, he desperately needs to find work. He's scoured the listings, but in this broken world, traditional 9-to-5 jobs have basically gone extinct. Rifts are devouring the economy, leaving businesses in ruins, and Seok wondering how the hell he'll survive. As he wallows in despair, his phone pings with a notification that could change everything: hunter recruitment. Relying on his past expertise in the field, Seok makes his way to the prestigious Hunter Association headquarters. The lobby is swarming with hopeful recruits, all desperate to earn their stripes and enter the hunter ranks. Overhearing some chatter, Seok learns that the entire selection ordeal is basically just a rigged formality for many. Nowadays, snagging a spot just requires showcasing one standout talent. Everything feels weirdly routine until now. The atmosphere explodes as the legendary Sayun enters the room, sending the wannabe hunters into a total frenzy. The crowd goes wild. Everyone assumed she was busy nuking a high-level rift on some distant front line. Rumors fly that the elite Janabi squad dispatched Sayun herself to handpick the absolute cream of the crop. But who's the true target? The spotlight shifts to a high-profile candidate named Han Songa. An academy star with lightning-fast electrokinesis, Songa finds herself the target of Siyun's playful, sharp-tongued teasing. Siyun jokingly asks if she's just a human battery, forcing her assistant to remind her she's a warrior. She isn't some backup generator. Word on the street is that Songa's control over lightning is actually terrifying. While she seems promising, Siyun's other aide interrupts, reminding everyone that real hunting isn't some controlled simulation. Plenty of academy geniuses crumble the moment they step onto a battlefield where the stakes are life or death. Impressed by the cold, hard facts, Siyun praises his sharp insight and casually tosses him a piece of candy. Ignoring the jealous glares, Siyun knows that classroom drills mean absolutely nothing in a blood-soaked war zone. It's going to be a brutal wake-up call for these pampered students who've only ever faced programmed targets. Siyun suspects it'll take a miracle for Songa to harden her soul and survive the horrors of true combat. Suddenly, the host commands the stage, welcoming the masses to the arena as the first bloodbath officially kicks off. Seo Yoon watches closely, hoping Sang-ah proves her worth. Suddenly, the announcer grips the mic, revealing a total wildcard, a mere civilian who's never stepped foot inside the prestigious Hunter Academy. It's an unheard-of move. The host wonders what kind of insane ego drove Sok onto this stage. As Sok's name echoes, he steps into the spotlight. Across the arena, his rival enters the fray. The referee barks out the rules: strict ban on personal gear and 0 lethal strikes allowed. No killing blows. Honestly, Sok just wants to save the planet so he can actually enjoy life. Good food and a peaceful life are his real goals, and that journey begins right here. Step 1. Crush this tournament. The signal rings out, and the battle finally explodes into action. His opponent ignites his spear, sneering at Seok for being a monolith loser. Total trash talk vibes. Before the first clash, the guy demands Sok surrender. Then he lunges forward with blinding speed. He brags about being the Academy's legendary undefeated spearman. But in a heartbeat, his face pales. Sok has vanished. In a flicker, Sok reappears at his flank and lets a fist fly. A shockwave of agony ripples through the spearman. Seok follows up with a devastating, bone-shattering uppercut. The guy collapses, spitting out teeth as he hits the floor. Sok stands there looking genuinely confused. Is he seriously finished already? Sok actually pulled his punches to avoid causing too much damage. He figures this guy must be a total amateur. There's no way actual hunters are this pathetic. Right. Meanwhile, Seo Yoon's jaw is on the floor. She just witnessed something impossible. She scrambles for her tablet, digging into Sok's history. Turns out he's just some logistics worker. A nobody, with 0 mana in his veins. Her assistant scoffs, calling the knockout a fluke. Seo Yoon literally stuffs a candy in his mouth to shut him up. She's not buying that excuse. She realizes Sok is suppressing his mana on purpose. Inside the ring, Sok prepares the final blow. Time to prove his skills. Sok closes the gap and his opponent looks ready to pass out. Seeing the terror in his eyes, Sok promises he won't make this a funeral service. He tried to be gentle, but one tap later the spearman is out like a light. Match 1. Victory. The officials are stunned. Seo Yoon catches the other guilds already eyeing the prize. They're calculating their moves, but Seo Yoon is already 3 steps ahead. She needs to test Sok's limits. She stands to leave, ignoring her confused team's questions. She's got a very important meeting. Destination: the association president's office. Meanwhile, Seok keeps tearing through the tournament bracket like paper. It's too easy. Sok is bored by these so-called elite rookies. He doesn't even need a sword. His bare fists are doing all the heavy lifting. Honestly, the Hunter Academy's curriculum is a joke. Not a single opponent has made him break a sweat. Where are all the real warriors? Finally, the main event arrives. It's Seok versus the crowd favorite, the powerful Sang-ah. All eyes are on her to end Sok's reign of terror. Sok nods, acknowledging her massive presence. He admits she's the first one with decent mana levels, but Sang-ah isn't here for compliments. She claims his winning streak was pure luck. But today, his luck has officially run out. Drawing her blade, she calls him out for having 0 unique skills. Just a brawler with fists. She promises 0 mercy. Seok just gives a dry laugh, thanking her for the heads up. Little does she know he has a trump card. He just doesn't want to waste it here. Sang-ah inhales mana, swirling around her blade like a storm. She explodes forward, aiming for the kill. But in a flash, Sok vaults into the sky, leaving her blade cutting through empty air. He dodged a lightning-fast strike with a simple jump. Even Sok is low-key impressed by her technique. She's channeling electricity into the hilt, turning her sword into a massive electromagnet. She's using magnetic acceleration to turn a simple draw into a lethal high-speed railgun strike. Seok admits she's the toughest foe yet, but she's overlooking one crucial detail in her math. She's hyper-focused on raw speed. But her real mistake? It's all about how she handles the acceleration. She deploys a magnetic rail across the void. Seok sneers, knowing that regardless of its lethal velocity, no moron would walk into a strike with such a predictable trajectory. Sangha still views Seok as a total fluke. She barks at him to drop the ego, claiming she can trash him without even tapping into that specific move. Lunging forward with a slower alternate technique, she misses as Seok effortlessly glides past her, mocking her sluggishness. He already dodged her peak speed, yet she's desperately throwing slower strikes just to keep her pride intact. Sangha triggers a massive ground-rupturing blast, but Seok realizes she's redlining her body past its natural limits. Knowing she'll be physically broken if this continues, Seok decides it's time to shut this down permanently. Declaring the playtime over, he taunts her to raise her left hand if his next hit feels like hell. Before she can blink, Seok vanishes and reappears, burying a devastating punch deep into her midsection. The strike completely haywires her internal organs, while she's still trying to process his godlike speed. Seok delivers a finishing blow that launches her across the arena. Sangha hits the dirt unconscious, paralyzing the crowd. Nobody expected the Academy's top-tier prodigy to get absolutely smoked. As Seok turns his back to the stage, he stops dead. Sangha is actually lifting her left hand into the air. Recalling his own joke about the pain he's stunned, she actually signaled him before he could even walk away. Suddenly, the referee gets a priority alert and announces an immediate high-stakes change to the tournament bracket. He instructs Seok to take a breather, leaving the warrior baffled since the match was clearly finished. The ref drops a bombshell. Seok is set for a special exhibition against a legendary active hunter. The stadium gasps as the hunter's profile flickers onto the massive monitors, visible only to the spectators. The audience loses their minds. Seok senses an overwhelming pressure, realizing this new opponent is a true monster. It's the legendary Siwon. Seok wonders if she's stepped into the ring, specifically to test his hidden potential. Siwon enters with her massive greatsword, telling Seok this duel is the only way to confirm his rumored skills. After identifying her elite guild, she proposes a formal match, but gives Seok the green light to decline. Up close, her poise is chilling. Seok instantly understands why she's ranked 10th in the entire world. Despite knowing his current vessel is at a massive disadvantage against a world-class ranker like her, Seok doesn't hesitate. He grins and accepts, suggesting they skip the talk and start the violence immediately. He confidently tells the stunned ref that his stamina is fine and he's ready for more action. To reach the peak, Seok knows that clashing with a titan like Siwon is the ultimate level-up opportunity. Grabbing his spear, Seok prepares to skyrocket his market value over the next 30 minutes of combat. Half an hour in, Seok is still standing, but he's visibly drowning under Siwon's sheer oppressive might. He can't believe a human woman possesses such terrifying physical stats, yet he refuses to back down. He manages to shove her back, but he feels his own agility tanking as the exhaustion takes hold. Seok spots clear gaps in her defense, but his battered body is too slow to strike those openings. Drenched in sweat and gasping, 30 minutes of high-intensity warfare with Siwon has pushed him to the brink. Siwon teases him, admitting she was craving a decent warm-up for the first time in ages. She mocks his fatigue, but internally, she's shocked that a mere student is still breathing after this. She fully expected him to fold within the first 5 minutes, yet here he is defying her expectations. Siwon blurs forward, aiming to end the match with one final decisive blitz. Seok's mind goes into overdrive. He's out of internal mana, and the surrounding air is completely tapped out. He was saving his secret weapon, but he's out of time. As Siwon's blade nears his neck, he triggers Paradox Flame. In a flash of dark energy, he miraculously ghosts through her finishing strike. Siwon freezes in shock. That swing was a guaranteed kill. There's no physical way he should have dodged. But he did. She notices an eerie black fire dancing on his skin. Her warrior's curiosity instantly piqued. Seok wears a dangerous smile, finally unleashing the one power he trusts more than his own life. Paradox Flame doesn't consume physical matter. It burns through the very abstract concepts he chooses as fuel. Currently, he can't incinerate high-level concepts like ego or memory, but the real hunt starts now. Only one fuel remains for him to incinerate his own bone-deep exhaustion. Seok blurs toward Siyun with newfound velocity, unleashing a strike that shatters the air. Siyun braces for the impact, stunned by how lightning-fast Seok bounced back from the brink. Their duel ascends to god tier as steel meets steel, sparking a blinding symphony of violence. Something is off. Siyun senses the atmospheric mana surging and plummeting in a bizarre rhythm. The arena is stable, meaning Seok's Paradox Flame is venting mana by incinerating reality itself. Just as wood feeds a campfire, Seok pours his mana into the Paradox Flame's hunger. In a lethal loop, the flame devours his fatigue to replenish the very mana fueling it. They clash repeatedly, their overwhelming power reducing the very foundation of the arena to rubble. Seok's iron will keeps him standing. He is a veteran of soul-crushing endurance matches. Finally, Siyun questions his stamina, but Seok's smirk confirms he is just getting started. Then, he asks if she digs relentless guys. She scoffs, comparing them to useless ash from a fire. But even Paradox Flame leaves a trace once the conceptual fuel is finally spent. After 4 hours of hellish combat, the flame flickers out, leaving nothing but dregs. Siyun finally drops Seok, praising his insane grit before being crowned the official victor. She tosses him a giant lollipop as a trophy, a sweet reward for a bitter fight. Hidden with the candy is her business card. As Seok examines it, Siyun steps closer. She promises to discuss the real business later, demanding he hit her up very soon. The trials conclude with Seok stepping up to claim his honors. Fast forward a few days. Seok digs into the card details on his phone, realizing the device holds every secret. En route to Siyun, a massive wall of a man blocks Seok's path and demands attention. The stranger silently hands over a card belonging to a heavy hitter named Yoon Seong-hyun. This Taebaek guild partner doesn't mince words immediately, pressuring Seok to join their elite ranks. Hyun promises to turn Seok into a superstar under his mentorship. Seok locks eyes with him, sensing genuine intent, yet his loyalty already belongs to the deal he struck with Siyun. Trapped between offers, Seok plays it cool, telling Hyun he needs some time to process. Hyun's laugh booms. He wasn't expecting an instant yes. He clamps a hand on Seok's shoulder, leaning in to warn him that his insane performance has consequences he should weigh carefully. He vanishes with a vague threat, but Seok already knows Taebaek is not his future. Seok dials Siyun instead, asking for the drop-off point for their long-awaited meeting. She directs him to the hut, a spot inside the Hunter Association headquarters. Minutes later, Seok finds a cozy cafe. Siyun waves him over, immediately clocking the stress on his face. She asks what is wrong, and Seok vents about the mountain of a man, headhunting him. Siyun's eyebrows jump. If Hyun is interested, she warns that rival guilds will back off entirely. Seok wonders if her guild is the same, but Siyun drops a bombshell she isn't recruiting him. Confused, Seok asks for her angle. Siyun reveals her true plan: he must remain a freelancer. She explains that joining a guild like Taebaek would just turn him into a low-level junior. Seok is lost, demanding a breakdown of the hierarchy between juniors and these partner hunters. Siyun breaks it down for the outsider guild. Life is strictly split into 3 distinct tiers. You have juniors, seniors, and the big shot partners who actually call the shots. Lower tiers are just glorified employees, but partners. They own a piece of the guild. They skip the paycheck for a cut of the profits, making them more like elite entrepreneurs. These guilds were modeled after law firms. You don't have to climb the corporate ladder, though. One can bypass the grunt work entirely. The realization finally hits Seok like lightning. If he stacks up enough legendary feats, the major guilds will be begging for his partnership. He'll be hooked instantly. Sion smirks, tossing Seok a sweet treat while he stands there totally clueless. Why is this eccentric girl handing out candy? Seok points out his lack of network or backup. Scoring high-tier quests will be impossible alone. Seon declares she's becoming his personal support system. 0 fees attached. Seok's jaw drops, yet the logic behind her move starts clicking. Why go through such trouble? Sion simply wants one thing: his eternal gratitude. She wants him to remember Guild Janabi's support before he went viral. Basically, she's collecting future favors. She slides over a mysterious envelope, leaving the final call entirely up to him. It's an Incheon City contract involving the notorious Gyeodong Island, she explains. A botched rift closure turned the place into a rot zone years ago. Is he clearing it? Nope, just patrol duty and nuking any fresh rifts that pop up on site. Deployment hits in 30 days. Payment $5 million upfront plus a massive $15 million bonus. Upon completion, of course. Seok scoffs, calling the bag mid, given the high lethality risks involved. Level up and gain clout if you want the big bucks, she retorts. So you in? He bites the bait. Later, Sion rings her boss, raving about Seok's absolutely unhinged potential. The boss is skeptical, but she reveals this civilian crushed the trials using 0 weapons. Still not impressed, Sion drops the bomb. The guy survived a 4-hour slugfest. Specifically against her, the boss figures she was just trolling or playing with her food. Sion snaps back, reminding him she's a decade-deep veteran, forged in the fires of hell. Under normal circumstances, she would have wiped the floor with any rookie like Seok, but he pushed her to the limit for hours. She's forced to admit he's legitimately cracked. A monster like him is a once-in-a-lifetime find. Her boss, however, is sick of the glazing. Does this mission even suit a total noob? He worries Seok might crumble under the pressure. Even with talent, vets are different. Sion smirks. She's already assigned him a powerhouse partner, Sangha. Knowing Sion is the guild's strategic mastermind, the boss finally backs off. He wonders how strong Seok will be at his peak. Sion's answer is chillingly confident. He'd take you down too, she claims. Flashback. Seok unboxes a spear and a mana elixir. Inside his flat, he eyes the potion, a high-concentrate mana burst for dire situations. It's an instant recharge. Manipulating mana is basically like chugging purified water for these hunters. You absorb, store, and vent. This elixir fast-tracks that whole process in seconds. But Seok is built different. He completely bypasses the storage phase entirely. He siphons and burns atmospheric mana instantly. The result? Absolutely zero output limits. By utilizing the very air around him, this constant flow triggers a biological evolution. His internal circuits harden and expand, paving the way for god-tier power levels. The catch: until those channels mature, his current output remains relatively low-key. Rapid-fire heavy attacks are off the table for now. Time to start the grind. A month of hardcore training should turn this new vessel into a lethal weapon. Present day. Hunters queue up for security clearance before entering the Cursed Island Zone. ID cleared. Assigned to Squad 8, Soak blends into the crowd of chattering mercenaries. He stays silent amidst the noise until a familiar voice cuts through its Sangha. Rocking a tank top and a wicked shoulder scar, she reveals their squad mates. She proposes an alliance. Soak raises an eyebrow, questioning what's in it for him. "You're the powerhouse here," she admits. "I want to learn from a monster like you." Soak quips that his shoulders are practically melting from all this unexpected flattery. She takes him literally, asking about his medical history. Her humor is officially non-existent. This girl is all business, no vibes. Suddenly the squad gets the signal to move. The commander lays out the mission stakes. Since a fresh face like Soak is present, he explains the core objectives. Corrosion rifts are ranked from Class 3 down to Class 1. The closer to Class 1, the deadlier they get. It is basically a death sentence. He adds that the very first rift to spawn in a zone is dubbed Alpha. This Alpha rift is currently chilling at the Northern Church. It is the ground zero for this island's nightmare. But there is a massive catch. This specific corrosion is still listed as unclassified. These things evolve fast, so he warns them to stay clear. Their job is strictly to patrol and destroy. They must hunt down and wipe out any secondary rifts. One blonde guy in the squad is totally stunned. He is salty about taking a total rookie on a high-stakes kill mission. Suddenly, Sock feels the vibe shift. The whole squad is giving him the cold shoulder just because he is the supposed new guy. Headquarters is on standby. If things go south, they have got a direct offshore line for emergency help. With a quick good luck, the team deploys. Once they hit the island, the veterans start plotting their move. While the pros talk strategy, Soak interrupts. He suggests setting up their main base at the Hagisa Temple. It is the perfect HQ. He points it out on the map, but the seasoned hunters are totally offended. They are fuming that a noob is barking orders. They demand to know why the temple even matters. Soak breaks it down. The temple offers a bird's-eye view of the entire target zone and the surrounding hills. From the peak, nothing escapes your sight. Plus, the old buildings provide perfect cover and lodging for the team. It is a total no-brainer. But the veteran hunters start losing their minds and screaming at him in rage. They claim there are way better spots to camp. One guy asks what happens if they get trapped there. Who wants to be stuck on a mountain with no escape? Siak just sighs and reminds them of facts. They are not facing an army, so being surrounded is impossible. Soak tries to be the voice of reason, but they are not listening. Why follow a rookie who barely knows which way is up? Siok is stunned. Turns out Earth has just as many morons as the fantasy world he just left behind. Fine, if they won't lead, he will. Soak suggests a split and starts heading out on his own path. He bolts toward the temple with Sangha trailing behind. Surprisingly, that blonde guy Minjae follows them too. Soak is confused. He calls out to Kim Minja, asking why he is tagging along with the rookies. Minjae acts tough, claiming he is just there to babysit. Soak actually thanks him for being a decent human. At least someone in this squad has a heart. Suddenly, Soak freezes in his tracks, sensing danger nearby. He signals them to drop. Shushing the group, he gestures for Minjae to check out the pathway ahead. Minjae pales. The path is crawling with monsters, at least 50 of them. He immediately suggests a detour. They are completely blocked. Then Soak casually asks Minjae what his unique skill is. Minjae is totally floored. No way is this rookie thinking of throwing hands. Soak just looks at him like he is crazy. Isn't fighting monsters the whole point of being a hunter? He asks again, "What is your power?" Minja stammers that he uses flames. His specialty, a high-impact fireball that packs a serious punch. Perfect. Soak grins and tells Minjae to get ready to blast the monsters on his signal. Minjae freaks out. It is 3 versus 50. That is straight-up suicide, not a tactical mission. He reminds Siak it is their first day on the job. The smart move is to call for help. They need to radio the other squads immediately. But Soak shuts that idea down instantly with cold logic. Backup won't make it. While they took the high ground at the temple, the others are miles away. The rest of the squad is stuck patrolling the coastline. Soak points out a very grim reality. Calling them is a gamble. There is no guarantee those guys would even show up to help rookies. Plus, if these monsters scatter while they wait, the whole island becomes a massive death trap. Minjae knows he is right. After that massive ego clash earlier, the veterans would probably let them rot. Sock makes it clear they are the only ones standing between these monsters and total chaos. The odds are trash, but a surprise attack could flip the script. It is high risk, high reward. Time is ticking. Soak starts sketching a tactical map in the dirt, briefing Minji on the final plan. Following the blueprint, he prepares to incinerate the core with a fireball while locking down the flanks. Minja's jaw drops. He can't wrap his head around how Sok is reading the battlefield like an open book. It is as if he has lived this 1,000 times. The briefing ends, and Minja immediately lunges into the fray. A massive fireball slams into the pack, erupting in a blinding explosion that swallows every monster in its path. Retreating for cover, Minja warns that his fireball is on cooldown. Without missing a beat, Sok steps into the light. Seok maintains the relentless assault, barking orders for Minja to prep the next blast the second it is ready. With a nod from Minja, Sok carves through the fire-resistant stragglers as if he is slicing through hot butter. Driven by cold efficiency, Sok knows that mastering specific roles is the only way to survive this dungeon. He intends to solo the horde until the next nuke is ready, fully aware that a solo defense has its limits. Perfect synergy is key. Any beast lucky enough to dodge Sok's blade is instantly deleted by the backline. Songa holds her ground in the rear until Minja shouts that his next fireball is locked and loaded. Seok pivots, instantly clearing the lane for Minja to drop another catastrophic nuke directly onto the enemy lines. The area is cleared in record time, and Seok actually takes a second to praise their flawless execution. Minja suddenly draws a firearm, nearly giving Sok a heart attack before waving them out of the line of fire. Sok exhales a massive sigh of relief. For a split second, he genuinely thought he was getting backstabbed. Seok embeds a microchip into a carcass, explaining that once the zone is dark and secure, the real work starts. His contracted junk dealer will move in to harvest the remains, though Sok is still totally lost on the details. Minja explains that hauling massive monster loot is a nightmare for hunters, making manual recovery nearly impossible. These chips act as beacons, granting scavengers permission to swoop in and strip the corpses of their valuables. After the harvest, the items are appraised and sold, followed by a clean split of the gold. The scavengers take their agreed-upon cut, and the lion's share of the profit flows back to the hunter. When Sok questions their loyalty, Minja admits that finding a trustworthy dealer is the most vital part of the game. Minja showers Sok with respect, admitting he never dreamed their makeshift trio could pull off such a feat. They just steamrolled 50 beasts, but Sok's gut is screaming that something far more dangerous is watching them. He lunges forward, dragging Minja into a desperate dive, just as a massive shadow lunges from the darkness. A predator had been tracking them, but Minja is safe for now. Shaken, he gasps, asking what just tried to delete him. Sok narrows his eyes, identifying the beast as a mid-level boss that definitely should not be here. Seok is stunned. Is this the alpha of the pack they just slaughtered, coming back for revenge? The mana radiating from this thing is terrifying. Its power level is in a completely different league. This is not a mob, it is a monster. He orders the others to retreat, while he prepares to face it solo. The duo tries to move in for a pincer strike, but Sok shuts them down with a thunderous roar. Fall back unless you want to leave in a casket. The sheer weight of his voice forces them to obey. His cold analysis confirms it. Having teammates nearby would only slow him down against a beast this fast. With the stage cleared, Sok realizes he can finally unleash the Paradox Flame without holding anything back. Sok beckons the beast forward with a smirk, while a worried Minja whispers to Songa if they should intervene. He looks like he is struggling. Should we help? But Songa just watches, knowing exactly what is happening. It looks desperate, but look closer. Seok has not taken a single scratch since the first strike landed. He is casually dancing around lethal strikes that would have ended Songa's life in a heartbeat. Sok is weaving defense and offense into a seamless dance, and every time his spear connects, something strange happens. Black flames erupt with every strike, and Songa realizes the monster is slowing down as the dark fire consumes it. The struggle was an illusion. Sok is not fighting for his life. He is literally playing with his food. Songa is floored. There is absolutely no way a supposed rookie could possess this kind of god-tier combat sense. Bored with the game, Sok hurls his spear into the sky, just as the monster charges in for a final kill. Songa screams, certain Sok is about to be shredded, but the moment the beast reaches him, gravity takes over. The descending spear obliterates the beast instantly. Sok does not even blink, proving his absolute mastery over the battlefield. Seok actually respects the beast for moving even after its mana ran dry. Time to end this. Minja's jaw drops at Seok's overwhelming display of power. No way a regular human soloed a behemoth like that so casually. Is this level normal here? Seok questions the island's freakish monster tiers. Minja is equally baffled that terrifying beast wasn't even the rift's core. A grade 3 rift. The horrifying reality finally starts to dawn on Seok. The briefing was a lie. This unclassified zone is a grade 3 death trap. It's grade 3 now, Seok declares. Songa freezes in total denial. She clings to the report, but Seok demands she use her brain. Only a grade 3 explains this carnage. Minja starts spiraling into a panic. Unclassified versus grade 3. That is literally the difference between life and death. The hunters are cooked. Nobody is making it back to the mainland alive. We have to save them. With your skills, we actually have a chance. Seok's response, a cold, hard no. Minja is left completely speechless. I'm not playing the solo hero for every hunter on this island. I'm human, not a god. Our mission is the rift, not a rescue. Forget the side quests. Their only job is identifying and killing the core. Death is part of the job description. Survival was never a guarantee here. What if you were the one dying out there? Songa snaps back. You would be begging for help too. Seok's gaze turns ice cold. It isn't about being heartless, it's about accepting the brutal, inevitable outcome. In this cruel world, some deaths are just unavoidable facts of life. When it's time you die, ditch the emotions if you want to survive. That night they reach the temple with a heavy, suffocating silence. Clear. They spot the other hunters' flares flickering in the distance. Minja sees a glimmer of hope, but Seok sees a massive target. Those lights are basically a come-kill-me invitation for the monsters. If another boss appears, those flares will lead straight to a slaughter. Seok beams a warning, Grade 3 confirmed. Prepare for the worst. Kill the lights, or die. Seok then turns his attention to Minja. Kill the core, kill the monsters. Minja confirms the rift's mechanics. No energy, no rift. The entire corrupted zone will just vanish into thin air. Simple enough. Locate the alpha core and smash it to pieces. While the others sleep, Seok prepares to move. He sets an alarm trap. He vanishes into the dark forest, soloing the nightmare waiting ahead. He's got the Alpha Rift's location locked in from the mission briefing. Things look easy until a boss-level nightmare suddenly blocks his path. This beast makes the one from earlier look like a total joke. At HQ, chaos erupts. Team 5's signals have completely vanished from the radar. Monsters are moving in formation. Team 3 is already taking heavy casualties. It's unclassified. How is it wiping out our best fighters like this? Emergency red. We need reinforcements immediately. Send out the SOS. Activate the emergency network. Every nearby hunter move out right now. Amidst the absolute panic, a lone signal approaches the Alpha Rift. Someone's charging the Alpha alone. Get them on the comms immediately. Freeze. Tell them to halt. New intel confirms Team 8's very own Suk is diving into the Alpha corrosion. The commander barks orders to sync with Suk's terminal immediately. They need proof of life right this second. It's insane. Suk sensed this unprecedented rift upgrade before anyone else. His intuition is on a whole different level. Since he's the only one charging into that nightmare, it's clear he's the only one who has an answer. By the time they finally establish contact, Seok is already locked in a lethal dance with a terrifying beast. Seok screams at the monitors, slamming the brass for their total failure to properly investigate this unclassified corrosion zone. He's hurling every insult in the book, making the stunned officials seriously consider hitting the mute button on him. While dodging the beast, Seok realizes his Paradox Flame lacks the raw power to finish this fight alone. He'll have to whittle its health down with fire first, then deliver a final piercing strike with his spear. There's a catch. His mana is bone dry after that brutal clash with the mid-level boss from earlier on the island. His Paradox Flame is flickering out, and since he's trapped on site, Sok desperately scans for a mana recharge point. After a frantic chase, he finally spots his salvation pulsing in the distance, the heart of the Alpha Rift itself. Without a second thought, Sok plunges into the rift while taunting the beast to keep up with his pace. The Situation Room descends into chaos as Sok's GPS signal suddenly blinks out. He's officially gone off the grid. He's crossed the threshold. Sok has officially entered the belly of the beast, the Alpha Corrosion Rift itself. Once inside, Sok is stunned by how pristine it looks. He mutters in awe at the rift's massive scale. If an unclassified rift is this huge, he shudders to think about the overwhelming size of Grade 1 zones. Suddenly, the boss monster looms into view. Seok grips his weapon. It's finally time to settle this score for good. The Paradox Flame is a double-edged sword. It incinerates every living soul in its path except for Sok himself. It's an untamable inferno that can accidentally wipe out allies or spiral completely out of his mortal control. But fighting solo, that's a game changer. Now he can unleash his full destructive power without holding anything back. He swings his spear, unleashing a tidal wave of fire while his body hungrily absorbs the surrounding mana energy. His mana pathways expand and flare, surging with newfound strength. This is the peak performance he's been missing. The beast lets out a blood-curdling screech. Sok's eyes narrow. He knows exactly what kind of dirty trick is coming. Right on cue, a horde of reinforcements swarms the area. The coward was calling for backup all along. Sok just scoffs at the boss. To a warrior of his caliber, a pathetic game of numbers is useless. A cyclone of fire erupts, vaporizing the mobs instantly. He's getting stronger, though he's not at full power yet. According to Minya, the Rift Core will always be the most lethal and apex predator within this localized hellscape. Whoosh. A lethal strike comes from his blind spot, a monster that actually talks. Sok barely dodges the killing edge. He spins around to find a grotesque, towering abomination staring him down with cold and calculating eyes. This thing is smart. It waited for his flames to die down before striking. This isn't just some mindless beast. It clicks. The monster standing before him isn't just an elite, it is the living core of the entire rift. With his power overflowing, Sok realizes a devastating 4-hit combo is finally within his reach. It's go time. He hurls his spear like a comet, but the monster parries the strike with its own wicked weapon. The pressure is staggering, but Seok isn't finished. He triggers his ultimate trump card, the dual orbit spear. Boom, a massive energy pulse shatters the enemy's spear, carving straight through its chest in a spray of darkness. The monster disintegrates under the force. It turns out the dual orbit spear creates a lethal blue trajectory path. This phantom echo follows his attack, mimicking the first strike with 4 times the original devastating impact. It's a relentless technique that delivers 4 consecutive hits, leaving the enemy with absolutely zero room for escape. The slight delay in the blue trajectory creates a tricky 2-part rhythm that is practically impossible to dodge. The wounded monster lunges in a final desperate attempt to strike Seok down. However, that was its fatal mistake. Seok times it perfectly. He catches the incoming spear, his eyes glowing with the cold intent to kill. One flash of steel, then another Seok delivers a crushing final blow that shatters the monster's body into stardust. Surprisingly, the monster doesn't just fade away. Instead, Seok is presented with a mysterious and glowing reward box. Meanwhile, the control room is still in a total panic, convinced it's game over, as the infestation continues spreading. Total despair grips the team as they watch the carnage, certain that only a literal miracle can stop the incoming slaughter. Backup was flatly denied, but just as hope fades, the captain gets a shocking ping. Seok has sent word from the rift. "Give me the sitrep," the leader barks, and the mission data instantly floods the command center's massive holographic display. Jaws drop as Seok's message confirms the alpha corrosion is neutralized. Right on cue, clean pings begin lighting up their radar. The rift is vanishing, and the monster horde is literally evaporating. The team leader is left speechless by the impossible news. It's the miracle he begged for, yet he can't fathom how Seok pulled it off. Meanwhile, Songa and Minjae were cornered. A sea of monstrosities closed in on them with Seok missing in action. Shaking Minjae asks Songa if they have a prayer. She knows they're cooked. Minjae has reached his breaking point, and Songa realizes her own strength is fading fast. A beast lunges with bared fangs. Songa tries to raise her weapon, but a cold, grim realization paralyzes her mid-swing. Her body has finally quit. Her legs are lead. Songa shuts her eyes tight, bracing for the killing blow. Suddenly, the world shifts. Seok shatters the rift core, and the monsters begin to dissolve into stardust before they can strike. Seok later rolls into the island assembly point, only to find a grim scene of wounded hunters being treated everywhere. It's clear the corrosion beasts went on a bloody rampage during his absence. The surviving hunters look on in dazed exhaustion. The same elites who look down on Seok now whisper in shock. Word is out that he soloed the entire rift. Disbelief ripples through the crowd. No rookie should have the sheer firepower to dismantle a grade 3 rift single-handedly. Seok regroups with his squad, and Minjae is absolutely floored that his friend walked into that nightmare alone and won. Seok simply shrugs, claiming his heart just moved him to act. In truth, the decision was already locked in. Since the mission was a success, he figured playing the hero would pay off. They're still vibing when a suit approaches. An official named Byeon Jong-tae from the Korea Operating Corporation interrupts, looking formal and completely out of place. As the branch manager for Northern Incheon Beyond delivers an invitation, the mayor wants an immediate audience. Seok pulls up to City Hall amidst a torrential downpour, but the freezing rain doesn't dampen his mood one bit. He's got one thing on his mind: securing a massive bag. At the entrance, he's greeted by a man named Lee Pil-jae. The liaison officer leads the way, leaning in to whisper that the big boss has been anxious to meet him. Apparently, the mayor was absolutely rattled by the island's report and has been counting down the minutes until Seok's arrival. The mayor cleared his entire schedule just for this. Hearing this, Seok can't help but throw a little playful shade. "Don't trip, I didn't do anything that crazy," Seok jokes. Pil-jae quickly hushes him, horrified by the rookie's modesty. A rookie soloing a grade 3 rift. That's literally unheard of in the modern hunter era. Not since the legendary first generation has anyone seen such raw power. Seok is hyped that a predecessor once existed. That guy must have been a beast, Seok muses. They finally enter the inner sanctum, where Mayor Park Ji-yeon waits. Park Ji-yeon greets Seok warmly, offering a sincere apology for the sudden summons in this awful storm. After ordering coffee, the mayor waits for privacy before praising Seok for his monumental achievement. "You've served our nation well," he admits, confessing the island situation was a massive, expensive headache. Low budgets meant top-tier guilds were out of reach. Seok smirks, seeing exactly where this conversation is heading. Seok notes the mayor must be thrilled to get a high-tier clear at such a bargain price. Park Ji-yeon agrees. The mayor leans in, asking if this truly was his debut mission. Seok gives a cool, simple nod. Springing from his seat, the mayor beams with pride that such a powerhouse chose Incheon for his grand debut. He starts hyping up Korea as the world's safest haven, leaving Seok wondering if the guy has lost it. Ignoring Seok's confusion, the mayor emphasizes Incheon's status as the crown jewel of the nation's strategic hubs. As a global trade hub, its free economic zones are basically a magnet for elite foreign investors. With international capital pouring in, the mayor reveals that Incheon is currently drowning in massive high-stakes development funds. The mayor promises to leverage every resource at his disposal to ensure Sok's career reaches legendary status. He wants Sok's life as a hunter to be smooth sailing. Earlier, Bayon had pried into Sok's true motivations. "Why do you do it?" Bayon asked. Seok simply replied that someone has to clear the world's filth. Comparing monster hunting to unclogging toilets, Sok's bluntness leaves Bayon certain that this rookie is destined for stardom. With fame on the horizon, Bayon knows brands will soon be throwing millions at Seok for endorsements. Seok senses Bayon's unease. The old man fears that TV stardom and the glitz of celebrity life might corrupt Seok's true nature. Bayon nods grimly. He's seen countless elite hunters lose themselves getting drunk on the hollow high of fame and public adoration. They abandon their duty for the spotlight. It's a tragic natural cycle. To Bayon, Korea remains the world's final untainted sanctuary. This land is humanity's last stand. Seok's feats are legendary, but that kind of power puts a massive target on his back. The world is watching his every move. Bayon's only wish is for Seok to remain an unwavering beacon of hope for everyone. Inside the mayor's office, the politician doesn't hold back. He starts laying out his cards shamelessly, pushing his own agenda onto Seok. But the mayor is about to get a reality check. Seok isn't some puppet. Having endured a lifetime of brutal struggles, these petty political games mean absolutely nothing to him now. He cuts to the chase. "What's the catch?" Seok asks, knowing no politician gives away favors for free. He goes straight for the jugular. Seok calls out the mayor's true motive: he's just hunting for a boost in his re-election polls. The mayor flinches, stunned by Seok's sharp intuition. He didn't expect a rookie to be this savvy about the political underworld. Seok just shrugs, noting that anyone with a smartphone can dig up dirt. The mayor stands there completely blindsided by Seok's intelligence. "Don't you need City Hall's green light?" the mayor counters. He holds one trump card: Seok's legal path to the top. As a rookie, Seok literally can't deploy on official missions without the mayor's personal stamp of approval. The play is obvious. The mayor wants to claim he discovered Seok's talent in Incheon. It's the ultimate political PR stunt. Boasting about his corporate ties, the mayor taps a coffee packet on his desk. He's already planning Seok's commercial debut. He mentions a famous model's contract is ending soon, and they're looking for a fresh, powerful face to take over. The plan: plaster Seok's face on every billboard. But as the mayor rambles on, Seok's patience finally reaches its breaking point. Clink. Seok drops the cup. "Do I look like a cheap sellout to you?" he growls, leaving the mayor utterly baffled. Seok declares that this bleak world doesn't need another pretty face. It needs a hero who can actually shift the tides. If he stays on the path of a true hunter, the riches and fame the mayor offers will come naturally. "I don't need your handouts," Seok says, standing up to exit. He's done wasting time with a mid-tier politician. Desperate, the mayor begs him to stay promising: safe missions and massive paychecks. He just doesn't get it. "Give the coffee gig to someone else," Seok scoffs, walking out. Meanwhile, in the shadows, a mysterious figure receives a chilling report. Their secret island experiment was a total disaster, and all fingers point to one man, Seok. Watching a clip of Seok's trial, the stranger's eyes narrow. He's fixated on that ominous black flame flickering around Seok's body. It's the first of the month, the day the national rankings refresh, and the entire country holds its collective breath. Hype reaches a fever pitch. Every citizen is glued to their screens, dying to see who will claim the throne. Usually the top tier stays the same, but for the public, it's the ultimate form of high-stakes entertainment. Even Seon is hooked, scanning the list for Seok's name. But when the results drop, the entire leaderboard is flipped upside down. Seon grabs 10th. Kim Cha-hee secures 5th. The legendary Yoon Choi-yorim holds strong at the number 3 spot. Jung Tae-sok takes 2nd. But sitting at the very peak, the new number 1 is the man himself, Seok. Suddenly, Seok is thrust into a massive press conference. Every camera in the country is focused on the man of the hour. How did a rookie solo a grade 3 Rift reporters swarm him, desperate to uncover the secrets of his godlike power? Amidst the chaos, Seok calls for one final question. A reporter asks, "What's your ultimate goal in all of this?" "I'll just do my job," he says simply. Later, President Moon invites him on a private tour of a restricted zone. They arrive at the ruins of Gonzo's prison. Looking down into a massive hollow abyss, Moon reveals a chilling secret about the past. He gazes out, knowing he's witnessing the crumbling fate of entire nations. While most countries collapsed after the corrosion rift surfaced, South Korea evolved into an unstoppable powerhouse. They didn't just survive, they thrived, sparking a tech revolution that birthed the very chopper they're flying. This bird is pure manatech, silent and deadly efficient. Mid-flight, Seok turns to Moon with a heavy question. "Is this the graveyard of nations that failed the test?" Moon nods, confirming that legendary capitals are now ruins. Entire civilizations were swallowed whole. As they bank toward the massive crater, Moon says to watch closely. He explains that 8 catastrophe-class rifts currently threaten the very existence of humanity. The infamous Gonzol prison is one of those nightmares born 13 years ago from a sudden tear in reality. It struck the city without warning. Those lucky enough to survive the initial blast were soon consumed by rot. In just a few days, a thriving metropolis was completely terraformed into a hellish corrosion zone. A city wiped off the map. Leaving the ruins, Moon notes that while players change the game, of power remains. The old empires are crumbling. Seok absorbs every detail, realizing that in this new world, information is a weapon. Still, he wonders why they needed a field trip for a history lesson. Then, Moon mentions a name, Hyun. The Taebaek big shot paid a visit, and he's reportedly fuming because Seok won't join his little club. He was hunting for Seok's location, but Moon played it cool and kept his mouth shut. Privacy is sacred. Moon warns him that Taebaek lives by a brutal law, only the strong deserve to rule and survive. If Seok won't bend the knee, they'll definitely try to break him. But Seok isn't the type to back down. He's shocked they'd go that far, but he's also realistic he isn't ready to trade blows with a monster like Hyun. Moon reads him like an open book. Seok is a lone wolf who refuses to be any guild's pet. He wants total freedom, and Seok doesn't deny it. But Moon tells him that freedom comes with a price. To keep Taebaek off his back, he needs leverage. Moon suggests taking on high-level missions from the association president. We're talking missions from the top. Seok isn't shocked. He knew there was no such thing as a free lunch. There's always an angle. Seok cuts to the chase, demanding to know what the old man really wants. No one hands out power for nothing. Moon simply smiles, saying he just wants Seok to remember this favor. He slides an envelope over, urging Seok to check the intel. At first glance, Seok thinks he's hit gold. A direct contract with the president is a fast track to becoming a legend. Seok asks for the details. The task is simple: guard a high-value cargo ship on its dangerous trek from Busan all the way to Nanning. With rifts popping up like landmines, sea travel is a suicide mission. Seok scans the cargo list and freezes. It's all high-end luxury gear, even a sports car. In this dying world, Seok can't believe his eyes. He mocks the idea of necessities in an apocalypse, but Moon reminds him that luxury is just another currency. For the elite, these toys are essential. Moon hopes Seok gets the picture, but Seok isn't buying it. Why prioritize junk when the world is burning? Moon explains that even as nations fall, international politics still turn. Rifts might shatter borders, but global politics are more cutthroat than ever. Suddenly, the true mission nature clicks. This isn't a rescue, it's a political bribe. Disgusted, Seok unbuckles his harness and prepares to make an exit. He tells the old man he's out. Moon's jaw drops. He never expected a rookie to turn down such power. Moon warns him that the government is betting everything on this deal. But Seok isn't moved by their desperation. He stands firm. Getting tangled in the messy web of international politics is a one-way ticket to a grave. Moon is livid, trying to pull rank on the rookie, but Seok couldn't care less about his status or rules. He tosses the contract into the wind and kicks open the door. "Thanks for the lift, old man. I think I'll take the scenic route back to Seoul." Through the water, Seok free falls into the ocean, leaving Moon staring at the empty seat in absolute disbelief. What an exit. Dripping wet but unfazed, Seok hauls himself onto the docks of the old airport. He spots a port worker. They trade nods like jumping from helicopters is just a Tuesday. Seok knows the threats are coming for him. To survive the coming storm, he needs to evolve. He'll hunt the deadliest missions and claim the ultimate power. He's going to become an apex predator that no one can control. Scrolling through his phone, he starts. Seok finally locks onto the perfect quest. His objective A: high-stakes rescue op for abductees on Tsushima Island. It is a grade 2 threat. Seok exhales sharply, bracing himself for the chaotic grind ahead. Back on September 3rd, local fishermen from Jeoje and Tongyang vanished into the deep. The waters turned lethal when corrosion monsters from Tsushima Island began their predatory hunt. They snatched the sailors like prey. According to a lone, traumatized survivor, the nightmare is ongoing. Those men are still breathing. Seok must infiltrate Tsushima and extract every single hostage alive. He needs to shut down the corrosion rift. The prize, 55 million, won all for him. Soloing, this means keeping the full jackpot. Plus, the hero title is basically within his grasp. Despite the hype, Seok cannot ignore the terrifying power scaling behind these monster grades. Grade 3 rifts hit like tanks, but a Grade 2 monster. That is pure natural disaster territory. Grade 1 is a national crisis requiring a full military mobilization just to stand a chance. Paradox Flame conquered Grade 3, but facing a Grade 2 solo, that is a whole different beast. Safety first, he needs backup. But finding a reliable partner for a civilian request is tough. Is there really nobody willing to step up for this gig? He scans his options. Then it clicks. Fast forward, Seok is already at sea with his new partner, the one and only Sangha. As they sail toward the zone, Sangha anxiously asks how much longer until they make landfall. 1 hour, he grunts, telling her to recover her stamina before the bloodbath begins. This raid is way deadlier than the last, but Sangha is distracted by the gear on his shoulder. She eyes the metal pad, realizing it is a rare, limited edition piece of high-tier equipment. Annoyed by her chatter, Seok admits his junk dealer contractor gifted it to him. Sangha is floored. Her own contractor has not given her anything remotely this useful or cool. Seok smirks, teasing her that they just operate on completely different levels of expectation. He is the elite who soloed a grade 3 rift, while she is still just a green rookie. Being the Academy valedictorian means nothing here. Seok sees her glare and knows he hit a nerve. He is pushing her buttons on purpose, motivating her to get stronger and make a name for herself. Rewind a bit. Seok actually reached out first, admitting he needed a teammate for this mission. Sangha hesitated. They barely survived grade 3, and now he wants to jump into grade 2. Seok hooked her with one question. Do you want to get stronger? He promised her massive growth. He will push her beyond her limits. Turns out Sangha has her own deep-seated reasons for power. She would dive straight into hell if it meant gaining the strength she desperately craves. Suddenly, alarms blare. 5 unidentified vessels are closing in fast on their position. As Seok strategizes, Sangha suddenly begins to levitate, leaving him absolutely stunned by her display. Sangha is shocked he cannot fly. She turns beet red, thrilled she finally found a skill he lacks. She bursts out laughing, roasting Seok for being grounded, while she takes to the skies. Sangha ends up carrying Seok. As they hover near the enemy ships, Seok issues the command. Take the lead ship, Seok orders. Why? Because the vessels in the rear look way more dangerous. She dives in, but as she gets closer, she spots a chillingly familiar human silhouette. Look closer, Seok warns. Whatever that thing is, it definitely is not human anymore. Seok storms his target ship. Just as he feared, transformed monstrous humans are everywhere. They have lost their souls, turning into mindless predators. Sangha crash lands, alerting every beast on deck. The horde swarms Seok, effortlessly carves through the first wave, like a hot knife through butter. These are just low-level fodder. He figures Sangha is taking it easy too, but he is wrong. Sangha is nuking these weaklings with everything she has got. Seok shouts her name to stop the overkill. She is burning way too much mana. At this rate, she will be tapped out before the real fight. Efficiency is key, he reminds her. Sangha realizes she needs to dial it back immediately. Under Seok's ruthless tutelage, Sangha dials back her explosive energy, focusing on pure, refined control. But Seok isn't satisfied. It's still too chaotic. Having tasted the bitterness of weakness, Sangha vows never to be a victim again. As she shreds through the horde, her resolve hardens. She craves power, and she'll do anything to reach the top. With the monsters wiped out, Sangha looks to Seok for approval. But the veteran hunter reveals the job isn't done. He'd already decimated the other vessels solo. Begrudgingly, Sangha offers her thanks, realizing his harsh pointers actually worked. Seok just smirks, noting that most people are too stubborn to learn even when the truth is spoon-fed to them. They're lost causes, he claims. Sangha admits the truth, no one has ever bothered to actually guide her like this. This catches Seok off guard. What kind of garbage were they teaching at the academy? Sangha drops a bombshell. Because she was a natural prodigy, they skipped the basics. Seok grins, throwing out a playful high-stakes challenge. Does she really think she can surpass him if he keeps refining her raw, untapped talent? Her eyes well up as she confesses a painful truth: she's never managed to outshine a single mentor before. Startled by her sudden vulnerability, Seok brushes it off with cool confidence. There's zero need for her to worry about that. He's built different. He'll make damn sure she's always chasing his shadow for the rest of her life. Forever his student. Just as they prepare to move out, the sailors deliver a grim update to the duo. They'll hold the line and stay on high alert, while the two hunters begin their perilous trek inland. Intelligence says the captives are at a shrine, but Sangha points out a major problem this island has too. It's either the Gaijin or the Atazumi shrine. Seok scans the horizon, calculating their first tactical move. He bets on Gaijin as the primary target. Sangha estimates a 2-hour trek through the treacherous terrain on foot. Walking is easy, but extracting 15 hostages through a war zone, that's a logistical nightmare waiting to happen. Worse yet, Seok senses a terrifying, malevolent mana pulsing from deep within the thick, eerie fog. Those corrosion beasts will be on them like hungry wolves. Seok's mind races, searching for a viable escape plan. Then he spots a ride. The plan clicks. He looks at Sangha with a smirk. How is your driving? She claims she's a pro. Fast forward 5 minutes and Seok is literally praying for his life. She's driving like it's her final day on Earth. She laughs, telling him to drive himself if he's that scared. No way. Seok scrambles onto the roof, bracing himself as the first wave of monsters closes in fast. They're being hunted. Seok unslings his weapon and launches a devastating projectile right into the pack. It rips through them twice, once on the way out and again on the return. But then trouble. Beasts are pouncing from the left. Seok shouts a warning, and Sangha reveals her inner speed demon. She pulls off a suicidal stunt to shake them, tipping the heavy bus onto just 2 wheels. Anything to keep the monsters at bay. Right now, Seok is seriously regretting letting her take the wheel. They blaze down the desolate road, but the monsters are relentless, swarming the vehicle like frenzied ants. They finally reach the shrine. Sangha warns about the tail, but Seok tells her to keep her cool. He's got this. As Sangha slams the bus inside, Seok ignites the paradox flame to seal the entrance. The fire incinerates anything close. Inside, they finally find the captives tied up and trembling. Sangha approaches to announce their rescue, but the hostages aren't cheering. Instead, they look absolutely terrified. Their faces are pale with dread. Through sobbing tears, they scream at Sangha to get out while she still can. Why are they so panicked? Sangha is confused, unaware that a massive, monstrous samurai is looming right behind her. Its blade drops, but Sok intercepts the strike just in time. "Get them into the bus now," he barks. While she evacuates the survivors, Sok engages the towering warrior in a brutal high-speed duel. The giant swings with lethal intent, but Siok doesn't flinch. Out of nowhere, the ground begins to shake. Sangha slams the pedal down, ramming the samurai with the bus and sending him flying. Sok's impressed by her savage driving, but Sangha isn't playing. "Get your ass in here," she shouts. Siok stays on the roof as they peel out with the survivors. For a moment, it looks like they're clear, but a massive horde is blocking the path ahead. Even worse, that samurai monster isn't dead yet. It survived the impact and is coming for blood. Sok reaches out. "Sangha, toss me your blade." Sangha freezes in shock. Asking a warrior for their blade is the ultimate sign of disrespect. Siok hits her with a cold ultimatum, her pride or the hostages' lives. Sangha has no choice but to surrender her steel. Siok grips the blade, ready for blood. A mysterious device on his wrist glows a trump card he'd hoped to keep hidden. But with the situation spiraling, he's forced to use the high-tech gauntlet found in that island crate. Looted from the core, this isn't just gear, it literally drinks mana from the atmosphere. At first, Siok figured it was just a simple battery. In reality, it's a total game-changer for his combat potential. The glove peaks at a 5-minute charge, granting Sok god-tier power that rivals even So-Yoon herself. As the beast horde swarms, Sok grips both spear and sword, charging a strike to level everything. One violent flash erases the monsters instantly. Sangha is left breathless, paralyzed by the sheer destruction. She can't wrap her head around the impossible feat. With the path finally cleared of the horde, Sok barks at her to floor it to the port. But as they race on, a grim realization hits. These corrupted freaks are infinite. They just keep swarming, and Sangha screams over the engine that the car is at its breaking point. "We have to ditch this ride and fight them on foot." Sok ignores the panic and tells her to drive. Suddenly, they breach a shimmering invisible veil. The monsters slam into the barrier like a wall trapped behind as the vehicle glides to safety. Stunned Sangha scans the area, desperate to understand what stopped the carnage so abruptly. She spots a glowing sigil on the wall. Then she remembers Sok's weird ritual from earlier. He'd carved a protective geometric seal there. Sangha had been totally skeptical of the move then. He'd claimed it keeps the darkness at bay. Curious, she'd asked where he mastered such sorcery. Siok just smirked, explaining it would be useless. He'd learned those mystic arts in that other world. Back in the now, Sangha asks if the seal stops every monster. Sok just shakes his head. Nah, it won't stop the real threats. Just as he says that the samurai breaches the wall, he walks through the barrier like it's thin air, his right eye igniting with a murderous crimson flare. A red laser locks onto the car. Sangha pales instantly. "That's the legendary Mind's Eye," she gasps. Siok's lost on the name, but the air turns heavy and grim. He's completely unfazed, but he notices Sangha is trembling. She explains it's a terrifying skill that predicts every move perfectly. "Even the greatest masters struggle to achieve it," she cries. Noticing her terror, Siok just scoffs. "Snap out of it, Sangha. Mind's Eye is just a flashy, low-level parlor trick. Watch closely. I'm going to show you how we actually handle these masters on the battlefield." Siok's gaze ignites. Suddenly, the samurai panic, swinging wildly at phantoms as fear takes hold. Siok strolls toward him, explaining that true combat sense is forged through blood, not fancy names. The technique feeds on hostility. Since Sok is dead calm, the samurai is basically fighting blind. Mind's Eye Heart Sword Zen states, "They're all just basic cousins." Sok lectures mid-fight. Approaching with zero bloodlust, Sok delivers one clean, effortless strike that ends the duel instantly. The samurai crumbles. Sok casually turns back to Sangha, calling those legendary techniques mid at best. Labels like enlightenment are traps. People get hyped by a name and stop evolving. They get high on a title and hit a ceiling. Sok looks her straight in the eye. On the battlefield, real power doesn't need a catchy name. He admits he only knows this because of the hellish price he paid to survive. The samurai was legit, Siok notes. Surviving a car crash is impressive, but relying on a gimmick was his ultimate downfall. Sangha falls into a deep state of self-reflection, questioning her own worth in this brutal war. What had she actually achieved? She realizes her determination was nothing more than half-baked. Driven by a new fire, she humbly bows and begs Siok to train her for real. Sok is surprised he thought he already was, but Sangha's eyes show she's dead serious now. She doesn't want hints or advice anymore. She needs his direct, brutal guidance to survive. Sangha admits her current weakness is a death sentence fueled by a desperate hunger for power. Sok demands to know what's driving her. Her goal, to personally crush Club Shide, a legendary corrosion rift ranked among the 8 deadliest disasters on Earth. This rift famously swallowed the Himalayas in a single breath. Sok realizes her ambitions are truly monstrous. Is this about revenge? He probes. Sanga's gaze turns icy as she confirms she's seeking vengeance for her fallen family. She flashes a high-tier card, making it clear she isn't looking for a handout. She's ready to pay. Seok's eyes widen at the name KY Group, a corporate titan valued at a staggering 257 trillion. When Sanga reveals her family owns the empire, Seok is hit with a wave of pure shock. He's looking at the literal heiress of a global powerhouse with her grandfather sitting on the throne. She abandoned the succession war, but Seok knows her rising hunter status will drag her back into the fray. What exactly do you want? Seok asks. Sanga's answer is chillingly simple: make me the absolute best. In exchange, she promises him elixirs, legendary items so rare, they're practically myths to the general public. These aren't sold in any market. For Seok, who craves more strength, this deal is the ultimate shortcut. With her backing, his growth would skyrocket. Yet Seok knows she'd never believe the level he's already reached. He has already touched the divine realm he once chased. His original drive for power had a much deeper soul. He wants to restore the world to its former glory. Deal, Seok says, gripping her hand to seal their fate. After handing over his list of demands, he insists they prioritize getting the survivors to medical care. Once the survivors are admitted, Sanga urgently grills the doctor about their recovery timeline. 7 patients are suffering from severe malnutrition. The doctor delivers a sobering update to the pair. It'll be at least a week before they're even coherent enough for a conversation. I'll notify you the second they stir, the doctor promises, but they need absolute rest right now. Seok agrees, then turns to Sanga with a sharp look. Let's go. Your hell starts immediately. At the training grounds, Seok tests her resolve. Think you can actually dodge my spear? He asks. If I strike with everything I've got, Sanga's voice trembles. That sounds impossible. The skill gap between them is like heaven and earth, yet Seok surprises her. You actually can. Push your senses to the absolute limit. See, hear, and even smell the air around you. Feel the vibrations on your skin. You must fight with total consciousness, not just blind instinct. Lesson over. Before Sanga can even blink, Seok vanishes into thin air like a ghost. Sanga spins around, disoriented only to feel cold steel pressing against the back of her neck. Too slow. You're already dead, he whispers. Your senses must lead and your thoughts must follow. In the heat of battle, thinking is a luxury that will get you killed. You must accept raw input and move. Unrefined senses will only betray you on the battlefield. Your own mind will deceive you. Now let's move from theory to practical torture. Nearby, a security guard watches the session, his jaw hitting the floor in pure disbelief. Even when his partner joins him, both are left paralyzed by the insane display of power. The ground shatters as the two clash like absolute maniacs, turning the training area into a wasteland. Seok is relentless, pushing Sanga toward her breaking point. Suddenly, he vaults high into the sky. He descends with a strike so powerful it screams game over. Sanga realizes this one is unavoidable. Just before the impact, a guard shouts, one of the survivors has finally regained consciousness. Seok halts the strike, ending the session. At least Sanga learned how to block a little. Sanga gasps for air in total horror. All that nightmare was just the first session. At the infirmary, Seok approaches the survivor. Can you talk? Are you all right? The man nods weakly, revealing a chilling detail. A truck arrived, and some very strange people emerged. Were they more hostages? Sanga asks. No, he replies. They were far too calm for that. Even weirder, the monsters weren't aggressive toward them. It looked like the beasts were actually helping them load hostages onto the truck. Hearing this, the pieces of the puzzle finally click for Seok. One burning question consumes Seok's mind. Why were there exactly 7 hostages left behind in that hellhole? Seok grills the survivor about the escapee, only to learn it was a staged release. The villains let them walk. Sanga is visibly shaken by the news. Following the witness debrief, the duo starts connecting the dots. Seok remains suspicious, wondering how a mere civilian slipped through a zone that nearly broke them. Sanga voices, their biggest fear was this entire mission, a lethal setup from the very beginning. Seok's voice turns ice cold as he realizes they've been played. These bastards really pulled a dirty stunt. Sanga stands paralyzed, unable to tell if Seok's fury stems from being underestimated or the human bait. She searches for answers. Are they just pawns? The two demand more intel from the trembling survivor. The witness drops a vital clue. The man leaving the truck sported a distinct cat mascot on his belt. Sanga cracks the code instantly. When a baffled Seok asks how she drops some cold, hard logic, she reminds him that his smartphone isn't just a paperweight. Seok, however, has a hilarious excuse ready. He claims regular guys like him fear the internet button will trigger a massive, life-ruining bill. Sanga is speechless. This man is seriously stuck in the early 2000s with that prehistoric logic. Suddenly, they spot their target. The punk's face is riddled with piercings, earning him a classic Seok roast. Seok asks if he used a heavy-duty sewing machine to fix his hideous mug. The disrespect is legendary. Beneath the jokes, Seok senses danger. The tattooed freak welcomes them to the big stage with terrifying confidence. Introducing himself as Kim Ji-hyun, he declares they're being taken alive. Sok's response, a skeptical glare. Ji-hyun doesn't explain, he demonstrates. He hurls a mangled body straight into the shimmering rift. Sangha gasps. Usually anything inside the rift stays trapped until the core is completely annihilated. Horror strikes as the victim crawls back out, his humanity replaced by something twisted and monstrous. Gion looks down in disgust. The transformation is a total flop. The creature looks pathetic and weak. With a single effortless kick, he sends the mutated failure soaring into the dark horizon. Terror grips Sangha. Is their endgame to turn the two of them into these mindless rift monsters? Gion scoffs, bragging that sacrificing ordinary trash has only yielded these garbage-tier results. The horrific truth dawns on them: the hostages weren't for ransom. They were lab rats for experiments. Gion claims they aren't worth his time, but his grand mission demands a brief explanation. He reveals their bloodline, the true descendants of Donggun. They seek to reshape the world's power balance. Their goal, solidifying South Korea's dominance until the entire globe trembles under their absolute influence. Briefing over, he stomps, unleashing a shockwave that launches cars into the air like toy blocks. A vehicle hurtles toward them, but Sangha comes through in the clutch, slicing the metal clean in half. Seok steps up, reminding the zealot that their nation is already a global powerhouse. Gion sneers. Current power isn't enough. He charges, aiming to elevate the country to untouchable heights. He wants a nation so supreme that no one dares look them in the eye. An absolute, unrivaled superpower. He leaps high, aiming a devastating drop kick at Sok. He rants about the historical shame of paying tributes. The air thickens with resentment as he vows to erase the era of bowing heads and humiliation. He wants every past insult returned tenfold. Seok parries, realizing this guy is a high-level taekwondo expert. Despite being unarmed, the villain's speed is insane. A heavy kick catches Sok, launching him backward. Sok stabilizes, analyzing the blow. The guy is fast, but his raw power, that's manageable. He gets the logic: if the rifts vanish, Korea's leverage on the world stage might crumble away too. Sok realizes these fanatics have zero interest in saving humanity. They just want a new world order. He barks back, reminding Gion that innocent people are dying while they play God with rifts. Gion laughs at their ignorance, revealing they've unlocked the secret to controlling the rifts entirely. The realization hits Sok like a truck: if they control the rifts, the entire war has just changed. Sok calls a sudden timeout. He tells the villain he's actually open to a partnership. He demands to know the extent of their control. If the answer is right, he might just flip. He's actually trading Sangha away like a common pawn. The betrayal leaves Sangha paralyzed with shock, but Gion just sneers. They've barely managed to stabilize the rift for now. Sok cuts him off instantly, demanding to know what barely is supposed to mean. It's a ticking time bomb with zero real control. Sok spits back that he's all talk and straight trash when it comes to results. Seok dismisses Gion's entire crew as clueless thugs playing soldier. That insult hits a nerve, sending Gion into a total rage, and he explodes forward with a devastating kick. Seok narrowly evades as the impact pulverizes the solid earth beneath them. Seok realizes he poked the bear a bit too hard this time. His original plan was just to stall for precious seconds, to harvest enough mana since his glove's power gauge is flickering on its last bar. Sok realizes his only play in this desperate situation is to drag Gion into a grueling war of attrition. Suddenly, Gion blurs forward, but Sangha leaps in to intercept the strike. Gion scoffs, mocking her for finally leaving the safety of the backlines, claiming she was just hiding in fear. Even as a lightning aura crackles around her body, Gion continues his taunts, admitting she's got some guts at least. Seok yells for her to retreat, knowing this monster is way out of her league. But Sangha points out his depleted battery. She knows the score: Sok is out of juice and needs time to recharge, and she asks for a specific window. Seok requests 5 minutes, and without hesitation, Sangha cracks open a rare elixir, telling him to step back and watch. As the elixir's energy surges through her, Sok fears her body might actually shatter, but Sangha brushes it off. Elixirs are for life or death situations, and they're definitely in an emergency right now. Seok tells her to hold the line for exactly 5 minutes, then he'll finish this. Sangha prepares for the ultimate gamble, telling Sok not to waste her sacrifice. The two collide in a brutal frenzy as Sangha pours her entire soul into every strike. As the battle reaches a fever pitch, she connects with a heavy vertical slash through Gion's silhouette. She pauses breathless, praying that the hit finally took him down, but Gion vanishes, reappearing behind her to deliver a bone-shattering kick, sending her spiraling through the air as she coughs up blood. Right before she crashes into the dirt, Seok catches her, his power finally at its peak. With a voice like ice, he asks Gion if he's prepared to die. Gion recoils, sensing Seok's mana skyrocketing to insane levels. He can't wrap his head around how this is even possible, since harvesting that much energy so fast should be impossible. Confusion turns to dread as Gion begins to wonder if Seok was just hiding his true main character energy this whole time. Sok just scoffs, asking why he's looking so shocked. Since he's just using the same logic as Jion's own piercings, the dude pales, realizing his secret has been totally exposed, and Sok tells him it was obvious to anyone with a brain. Jion's mana is hemorrhaging everywhere, all because he's spamming power he can't handle. Thanks to that recklessness, Sok's Paradox Flame is now fully recharged. Gion thinks it's a bluff since absorbing leaked mana is impossible. But in the blink of an eye, Sok is already at his back. He whispers that the explanation doesn't matter because Gion's time is up. He triggers a devastating 16-hit combo, shredding Gion apart while drenching him in the lethal Paradox Flame. Gion gasps for air, his muscles refusing to obey his commands. Seok mockingly praises his pathetic attempt to stay upright, even though his very fibers have been incinerated. Sensing the end is near, the dude desperately cries out for his captain's help. Suddenly, a lethal projectile streaks down from above, but Sok's senses are sharp. He whips out his spear, parrying the strike. High above on the rooftop, the mysterious captain finally reveals himself. Hidden behind a mask and hood, he praises Sok's reflexes that shot was meant to shatter his wrist completely. Sok wonders who this newcomer is though. His gut tells him this is the man in charge of the gang. He hates to admit it, but this guy's presence is at least double the intensity of Gion's. But a second look changes everything. This monster is easily 4 times more powerful than Gion. The captain then taunts Sok, asking if he has a death wish. Sok stares back, completely unfazed, knowing he'd be dead already if the captain willed it. Since he's still breathing, he gambles that the captain wants his black flames. As Seok summons the dark fire, the flames consuming Gion intensify, making him scream in agony. The captain coldly demands Sok extinguish the fire, warning him that he won't ask twice. Seok realizes that Gion was a walking corpse kept alive only by the captain's mana, purely on life support. He also knows that if that arrow had been aimed at his skull instead of his arm, it would have been game over. The captain spared him on purpose, and now Sok is truly cornered. He snuffs out Gion's flames mid-air, intercepting the fall with god-tier speed. The captain moves like a blur to secure him. Seok is paralyzed by that overwhelming velocity. The captain glares, spitting venomous words at the boy. He barks that Sok just shattered Gion's future. A wheelchair is his new reality. Then he notches a lethal arrow. He wants Seok breathing, sure, but alive doesn't mean unscathed. He's perfectly fine with breaking some bones. Sok doesn't flinch, telling the psycho to do his worst. He'll never be anyone's mindless puppet. Seeing that iron will, the captain unexpectedly stands down and withdraws. He's still obsessed with Sok's black flames. Before vanishing, he drops a chilling promise. One day you'll belong to me. Once he's gone, Sok realizes he's triggered a total sociopath. Sangha approaches, noting the villains are clearly thirsty for his unique ability. Sok confirms it, though he's still in the dark about why his skill is so valuable. Sangha wonders why they didn't just kidnap her, but Sok has a darker theory. Perhaps they know her true identity. Sangha finds that level of calculation hard to believe. Why would terrorists care about her background? Seok tells her to wake up. The government might be pulling the strings. He warns her to keep this a total secret. Sangha admits she's a terrible liar, but Sok insists they focus on the rift first. He orders her to stay behind and recover while he handles this solo. Then he dives in. Landing in the Grade 2 rift, he's greeted by a massive, sinister, undead fortress. As he nears the gates, a wave of pure, lethal energy washes over him. No doubt about it, the source of this corruption is lurking right behind those doors. One wrong move means certain death. Sok steels his nerves and prepares for the worst. He throws the doors open to find a giant cauldron. Could a pot really be the core? Before he can process this weirdness, a desperate hand clamps onto his ankle from below. A mutilated survivor begs for mercy, crying out that his legs have been devoured. Suddenly, a tentacle whips out of the pot, dragging the poor soul into the bubbling liquid. Moments later, he emerges as a mindless zombie. That pot is a literal undead factory. The sight makes Sok's stomach turn. Then a cold, haunting voice echoes through the chamber. It calls him a premium sacrifice. A shadow flickers, and the true face of the core appears. It's an elite swordsman. He draws his blade, eager to paint the floor with Sok's blood. Sok freezes. The pressure radiating from this monster is absolutely suffocating. If the captain subdued this beast, just how insanely strong is that man? Panic sets in. If there's someone even stronger out there, Seok is in deep trouble. Suddenly, the swordsman lunges Sok, barely tilts his head as the blade whistles past. This guy is a monster. Sok decides to go full throttle before his weaknesses are exposed. He launches a devastating finisher aiming to end this in one shot. But then, the enemy parries his maximum output with a casual, terrifying flick of the wrist. Sok didn't even see him move. Before he can blink, the counterattack arrives. Steel bites into flesh. Sok reels back, his body mapped in fresh, stinging wounds. The swordsman is impressed. Sok dodged a fatal blow, but he's just warming up. Let's see how much pain you can actually stomach, the monster sneers. A flurry of strikes brings Sok to his knees, his body a map of agony. Desperate, he reaches for the Paradox Flame. But there's a massive problem. His opponent isn't even alive. How do you use paradox against something that's already dead? Still, he forces himself up cloaked in black fire. The swordsman's eyes widen in surprise. What does it take to kill you? He growls, unleashing another wave of slashes. Sok's muscles tear. His vision fades. He's right on the edge of the abyss. Even with his body shattered, Sok ignites the paradox flame, forcing his muscles to knit back together through sheer willpower. As his flesh mends, he flickers out of sight, repositioning himself right in the enemy's blind spot. This was his moment. Sok lunges for the kill, but his heart drops as the swordsman vanishes into thin air. A cold voice mocks his speed from behind, before a brutal strike sends Sok crashing down. Yet the warrior chooses mercy. Seok scrambles back, his teeth bared in fury as he warns the monster not to underestimate his resolve. He knew that killing blow was intentional. Was this legendary warrior really just playing with his food? Pity, the enemy scoffs, claiming he is no longer the ruthless killer he once was. His identity is gone. His name, his past, all erased by the cruel passage of time and death. Those missing memories left fatal openings in his swordplay. After his ultimate defeat, he was bound in eternity. Seok realizes the irony. While he lacks the body, this ghost lacks the mind and experience to match. Those glowing chains on the ghost's neck, they must be the shackles Gion and the captain warned about. The swordsman mourns his lost legacy, admitting that his very purpose for wielding a blade has withered into pure, soul-shattering resentment. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts violently as the swordsman undergoes a horrifying dark metamorphosis. His hatred thickens into a suffocating fog, but Sok spots a fatal flaw. The ghost's technique is sloppy. If Sok can survive the initial onslaught, he actually has a shot. One strike. That is all he needs to tank. It is time to go all out. To bring down this legend, Sok must transcend his limits. The swordsman's eyes widen in shock. Black flames erupt, sealing Sok's wounds instantly as he slams his palm against the cold ground. The enemy is stunned by Sok's unique power, noticing the flames aren't just burning physical matter. Sharp eyes, Sok grins. These aren't normal fires. They are conceptual flames that incinerate the very laws of reality. They look like infinite power, but Sok knows the devastating price of using such forbidden magic. The broader the target, the more mana it drains. Applying this to a massive scale is pure suicide. One slip-up in control and the backlash will erase Seok from existence before the enemy can. In his past life, this was child's play. But now he's walking a razor-thin tightrope. He used to play it safe, but survival demands a gamble. He can't afford to be cautious anymore. Seok declares his intent. He's going to burn away the very concept of durability in this entire zone. The ghost is baffled, but Sok isn't there to chat. He's there to win. Without a second's delay, Seok charges forward, his spear whistling through the cursed air. He forces the legend back. Seok smells blood. He knows this titan has a breaking point, and he just found it. Realizing the stakes have peaked, the swordsman suggests they take this dance of death outside. A cataclysmic duel explodes. They clash with primal ferocity, turning the battlefield into a scene of pure carnage. Buildings crumble and steel snaps as they trade blows. Sok begins to feel the overwhelming pressure. His spear shatters in two. The swordsman swings a final soul-ending arc intended to finish the job once and for all. But Sok is gone. He blasts through solid rock like a comet, closing the gap with terrifying, insane speed. With a manic roar, Sok connects. A barrage of phantom strikes sends the swordsman spiraling away. Stunned by the raw force, the warrior demands to know the name of the monster before him. As the ghost struggles to heal, Sok drops from the heavens, raining down precise laser-like slashes that shred his foe. The ghost's life force bleeds out in a guttural scream, but Sok is relentless, diving back in for the kill. Steel bites into flesh. Both are wounded, but Sok's diagonal rip carves much deeper into the enemy's soul. Their pained roars echo through the rift, dragging Sok's mind back to his memories of the other world. He remembers the question, what happens when you face an equal? The answer was simple. Only one walks away alive. Sok pours every ounce of his existence into a final, devastating strike that shatters the swordsman. Exhausted and broken, Sok lets out a triumphant smirk. He is the one standing. He is the strongest. As the shadow fades into nothingness, the rift grants its bounty, just like the Grade 2 core before. Seok breathes a sigh of relief. Some things never change, no matter which world he's fighting in. Sok inspects the reward box and finds a lone spearhead. He's baffled on how to even weaponize this tiny scrap of metal. He wastes no time testing it. With a sharp flick, he hurls it into the distance and snaps it back, realizing mana controls its range. He discovers mana can instantly extend the weapon's reach. He then recalls that rift loot scales based on the total number of challengers. A wave of regret hits him. He should have told Sangha to follow him into a safe zone so she could have shared the spoils. Since the enemy's blade didn't vanish after death, Sok decides to claim the steel for himself instead of leaving it behind. Minutes later, Sok returns to the surface to find Sangha napping. He wakes her up by tossing the heavy sword at her feet. She jumps in surprise, eyeing the exotic weapon. Seok casually tells her he just happened to stumble upon it while he was busy. He guarantees it's a legendary blade, noting its previous owner was no amateur. Sangha picks it up to inspect the incredible craftsmanship. She admits the sword is a masterpiece. She starts asking for details, but a completely drained Sok shuts down the conversation immediately. He tells her not to stress the small stuff. His only concern is whether she managed to get enough rest while he was gone. Before another word escapes, Sok collapses from exhaustion. Sangha is stunned, but it's a grounding reminder that even this monster is human. News of a solo Grade 2 Rift clear spreads like wildfire, sending massive shockwaves through the entire global hunter community. The public is losing it because even elite squads struggle there. Now Sok's face is plastered on every jumbo screen in the city. As the world's newest superstar, Sok wakes up in a hospital, realizing he's essentially trapped indoors by a massive media circus. A restless crowd waits outside. Suddenly, a sharp-looking woman in glasses enters the room, introducing herself as Jae Soo-jong. She represents the secretive Embargo Tower. Sok invites her in, offering a quick thanks for covering his astronomical medical expenses. However, he admits his confusion. The name Embargo Tower doesn't ring a single bell in his memory of powerful organizations. Soo-jong explains their low profile is due to their focus on ICT technology, rather than typical frontline hunter politics. She offers to handle any inconveniences, but Sok plays it cool, claiming there's nothing he's particularly curious about right now. He isn't naive, though. Those hospital bills weren't cheap, meaning this mysterious organization definitely wants something big in return. Sok cuts to the chase, asking what the catch is. Instead of answering, Soo-jong casually hands him a cake to eat. Once the vibe settles, she reveals the shield generator, a revolutionary device designed to create barriers against lethal corrosion creatures. The organization needs an escort for this priceless tech. They want Seok to lead the transport mission for this game-changing device. It's a cutting-edge United States prototype. If successful mass production could finally bring relief to forgotten zones that hunters can't reach. Soo-jong emphasizes that this mission is a high-stakes operation that could literally decide the final fate of the human race. Seok leans back, realizing he's just been drafted into a massive world-altering request, with stakes higher than any rift clear. Soo-jong confirms the scale, mentioning they are currently vetting other top-tier hunters to join the elite escort team. When Sok asks about the roster, she reveals that the heavy hitter Jonah B has already signed on for the job. That name proves this is huge. The plan involves moving the cargo across dangerous territories via a specialized high-speed train. From Vladivostok to the Netherlands, they'll eventually use a chopper to airlift the device into the heart of the United Kingdom. Sok is skeptical. He asks why they're risking everything just to deliver the generator all the way to the United Kingdom. She reveals that a great rift called Ristorante in Naples has plunged all of Europe and North Africa into absolute chaos. The United Kingdom is the last bastion of safety protected by the sea. The rest of the continent is currently a lawless wasteland. With governments failing, Europe has descended into total anarchy. Civilization as they knew it has completely vanished from the region. In the power vacuum, ruthless hunter corporations have seized control, ruling over various territories like modern-day warlords. Their train will also carry vital relief supplies. International organizations are desperate to get these goods to the starving survivors. Sok immediately reads the room. A train full of supplies in a lawless land means every bandit and monster will be attacking. Soo-jong asks if he's ever traveled abroad. Seok shakes his head, admitting this mission will be his very first time leaving home. She warns him that the journey will be paved with lethal situations. Sok catches her using plural terms and realizes something. He asks for clarification, and Soo-jong reveals that she'll be tagging along on the front lines with him. Sok has one condition: he wants Sangha on the team. He vouches for her as a trusted ally he can actually count on. Soo-jong agrees without hesitation. Sok smirks at the deal. This mission is the perfect chance to expand his global influence. Later, Sok heads to the rooftop, where a helicopter waits. He's stunned to find the association president personally handling the logistics. The old man admits that soloing a Grade 2 rift changed his entire perspective. He now recognizes Sok's true value. He vows that the association will now go to any lengths to support Seok's activities and ensure his path remains clear. Deep down, Sok relishes the fact that his raw power finally silenced the doubters. While things are smoother now, he wonders if the chairman knows Jeon's dark secrets. He is dying to know, does the president want this chaotic world to persist or perish? As Sok boards the chopper, his eyes widen. Siwon is already there waiting for him. She smirks, noting his legend has spread so far that everyone knows his name. When Sok asks for their destination, she reveals they are heading to a military base. He asks why. She reveals the military is joining this high-stakes global request. She reveals the South Korean military plans to dive headfirst into this mission. Every nation wants in. Success means they will finally break their desperate reliance on hunters. But Sok has a gut feeling that South Korea won't actually enjoy the outcome. Sok brings up the descendants of Donggun, and Siwon confirms they are a terrorist cell. He mentions clashing with them during his chaotic mission on Tsushima Island. Siwon explains this all-Korean faction is popping up like a plague across the globe. These zealots wait for hunters to clear rifts, then strike when they are most vulnerable. Like clockwork, she hands him a candy, leaving Seok baffled by her strange ritual. Suddenly, Siwon asks if he has ever left Korea, the exact same question Soo-jung asked him. He admits it is his first trip. She warns this mission will shatter his perspective.